My dear America, greetings. I salute you, and I beg a moment of your time. I come here today not as a citizen of a country, but as a citizen of this terra mater upon which we all live. The situation in your country is frightening, to say the least, and not for just your own country, but for the rest of the world. I say this because there's a megalomaniac amongst you, a megalomaniac whom many of your people are supporting, and whom, quite frankly, does not deserve to, or should legally even be allowed or sanctioned to continue in his despotic and, quite frankly, insane path. Let me just start on a few things. First off, the insults towards the military personnel. How can you think that a man who does not respect the troops, the men and women who have given their lives, literally in some cases life and limb and blood, and sacrificed on the field of battle, sending their and to you, the citizenry, who are sending your sons, your daughters to protect you, even though of late we have not been protecting ourselves, you have been protecting your trade interests. Frankly, your trade interests and your interests overseas, your political interests overseas. All right, that's fine, but at the same time, that has created your own enemies. Yes, I will say that again. Your involvement overseas has created your own enemies. 1970s, the Taliban, the Russo-Afghan War, the CIA supported the Taliban war by proxy, because had they put boots on the ground with the Russians in Afghanistan, there would have been an actual static war. I don't think that's the word, but there would have been a war, right? Possibly nuclear. It could have been World War III. I understand that. War by proxy works. Now, again, Saddam Hussein, another example of when you made an ally, you gave him power, you supported him, well, he gets too big for his hat and suddenly says, screw you guys, I don't need you, and then, of course, reprisal. Another example, Nicaragua, the Sandinistas and the Contras, you supported one side because you didn't want communism in Latin America, and yes, I agree that it would have been bad for you because my people naturally are more inclined, historically, socially, and culturally, to accept socialism, or communism, or socialism nowadays, because of our cultural values, because of our societal values, and because of how we unite ourselves, right? Now, back to what I was saying about Donald Trump and his insults towards the troops. How can you expect a man who does not respect his own soldiers to actually be capable of understanding what it is that these men and women are doing for their country, right? As a Latin, when I was a kid, my country was at war. I understood what sacrifice was because I saw it with my own eyes. I myself was raised to be a martyr because my parents were missionaries. They still are. And at the time, in the 80s, we had trouble with the Medellin cartel, right? They were in my country, they were kidnapping people, my parents were white, and invariably because of that, and you might still see this today in many countries, they're white, they have money. That's just how it goes in many of these poorer countries, because generally that's how it is. You may not be rich if you're white, but at least you have more money than they do, and they see that like that, right? So, I grew up learning to sacrifice. I grew up knowing what it means to be ready to lay down your life for a cause, for your nation, for your people, for your family, for that which you believe in. That is sacrifice. Sacrifice means to give up of your own something that is dear to you for a greater cause, for something greater, for anything. Donald Trump has not sacrificed anything except money. Okay? And money, when you think about it, it's really nothing. It really is nothing. Like, all it is it's something that we have aggrandized to a certain extent. Like, you don't need money to eat. The only reason you need money is to buy the seed, and that's the only reason because we funneled ourselves into this concept. You want to eat? Go fish. You want to eat? Plant your food. You want to eat? Go hunt. Right? Of course, with as many people as we have today, you need the laws and et cetera, because, quite frankly, humans are irresponsible creatures for the most part, especially the way that we trained ourselves in consume. We are locusts today. I've strayed from where I was going. Now, this whole thing with the immigrants. Let me ask you something. How many of you people actually belong here? Right? I mean, if you're going to do the whole immigrants go home bullshit, how many of you frankly belong on this continent? Most of you don't. Right? But quite frankly, we are all part of this terra mater, this earth upon which we live, right? It's ridiculous. It's suicidal, especially at this day and age where climate change is happening, where shit's going to get real and fast, where people are going to start dying in the thousands because of the damage that we have caused in our own hubris, in our own ignorance, in our own greed. We have caused what is going to happen to us, and we need to be ready for that. Now is not the time for division. Now is the time for unity. Unitas communitas fraternitas. Right? Unity, brotherhood, and oh, well, I'm getting confused with my Latin here. I've learned a lot of phrases in them. But they are a lot of these ideas are keystones of society. A lot of the ideas that we, the West, in fact, and Europe and whatnot, in fact, a lot of the world have built on are universal ideas. A lot of those ideas being unity, community, society, right? You need all these things to build a great society. You need unity amongst the people. And even though they may come from different ethnic backgrounds, from different countries, the best nations throughout history, the best empires throughout history, captured, borrowed, stole, or altered the ideas and abilities and technologies of other nations. That's just how it works, right? That's just how it works. If you want to get better, evolve. I've done a lot of study, and one of the first rules constants that I noticed in my science studies as a child was a very strict law of nature: adapt or die. A creature must adapt to it. An organism must adapt to its surroundings in order to survive. Plain and simple, or it dies. What will you do, America? How will you adapt to this situation? I mean, I used to respect America. I really did. I believed in the creed. I still do. I still believe in the pledge. I believe in the United States of the people, by the people, and for the people. One nation. I forget what the second part is. Something about the republic, and the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with freedom and justice for all. Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard? I mean, the world is laughing at you, America. We've been laughing at you for a long time. If Trump wins, I'm going to tell you right now, this could either be the end of what we know, or frankly, the end of the world. He is insane. Like, him asking this question, why can't he use nukes, should send off a lot of warning bells in your head. I will tell you right now why you can't use nukes. Because of treaties, because of balances. Put it this way. I remember when I was in high school, we watched a movie regarding the tensions between the USSR and the US, frankly, or the West, right? What happened in this case was a misunderstanding, a technological failing. because what happened is the Soviet satellites, they picked up what seemed to be a missile flash. They went immediately to their highest DEFCON level. The red phone starts going off between the Pentagon and the USSR and the Kremlin. Everybody, they armed their missiles. They were ready to launch. The final codes were waiting to be input, and you turn the key, kind of thing, right? Well, it turns out that it was a mistake of the satellite that caught a flash of sunlight off a cloud. We almost blew ourselves to fucking hell because of a computer mistake. Now, that's just one thing. I'm trying to shoehorn that in there. Let me just go to something else. I'm trying to explain how this balance works. Okay, you have how many countries that have nukes, right? India, Pakistan, China potentially, France, UK, US of course, Israel, and the USSR. Now they're all pointing at whomever. The problem is, once one person launches or even turns on the silos, satellites are going to pick that up. And even though they may be an ally, it's only prudent to turn your own missiles on and be ready to strike, even if they are an ally, because alliances can go south very fucking quickly, right? And sometimes keep your enemies. That is a useful thing. Make an alliance with your enemy so that later you can manipulate them into a point of where you want them, or you keep them disarmed, or not disarmed, but unaware of that you're going to stab them in the back later on. Okay? That's just, it's a political ploy. It's also a military ploy, right? If Trump were to arm a nuke or to launch one, as soon as it launches, you can guarantee that other people would either be launching countermeasures or just launching theirs, because at that point it'd be like, fuck it, right? There's a delicate balance. If one person, like, imagine a scale, right? And the quote from Mulan, a single grain of rice can tip the right? It's true. Imagine, in this case, this is a like, oh God, what's that game? The one where you had basically it's a balancing game, right? You have four sticks and you're trying to balance it with the weight. It's kind of like that. If one person leans too much on one end, the whole thing's going to fall. That's the idea. Is if one person pushes too much with the nukes or turns on the nukes, others are going to turn on the nukes. You launch a nuke, other people could potentially launch nukes as well. You have to understand this. Yes, it's our mightiest weapon, but it's our mightiest weapon because it is so destructive. You launch a nuke, you ruin the air, the water, the earth itself, right? That area becomes unusable. Look at Chernobyl. And look at Fukushima, which is still pumping out harmful radiation into the ocean, and we're starting to see the mutations now. You gotta think, people. You gotta be logical and realize and think. Use reasoning. A plus B equals C. Cause and effect. If this happens, this could happen, or this, or this, or this. Right? I beg you, America, be smart for once in your fucking lives about this. Okay? It's serious. It's serious. It's that serious. This guy could lead to the very destruction of our planet. Think about that. Thank you.